Hi, everyone. I'm Michel Bayan, CEO and co-founder of DirecTech Labs. On this episode of Industry Leaders Perspective, the CEO of LifeVantage, Darren Jensen, joins me. Many of you may have seen Darren speaking prolifically around the direct selling industry event circuit, I guess when we had more in-person events. And today we'll be talking specifically about the distributor and customer experience. As we know, especially these days, so many different types of people come to our companies with so many different expectations of how they want to get value from our brands. And too few companies today are really thinking about it that way. Most companies still are looking at how do I create either one experience for everyone, or maybe the slightly more progressive ones, how do I think about the experience a customer has versus the experience a distributor has? But it's much more nuanced than that. And when we can come to understand these different groups of people that want different things from us, we can start to really create a much more effective and efficient way to do direct selling, where the lifetime value and the lifespan of our people gets greatly extended. And so not only do they win by getting more value from us, we win by getting more value from them, but also on the long term, we have fewer people leaving our brands with a negative taste in their mouth, with a complaint to TINA or a complaint to the FTC or another regulatory body. So the quality of experience really is probably the most important thing you can be thinking about in your business. Many companies today are focused on just trying to hold on because they're in this meteoric growth. Watch out. We have a term called pop and drop in this space, and it exists for a reason. Watch out for those churn rates and make sure that even though you're bringing lots of people in, they're getting a quality of experience, because that's going to come bite you in the butt later if you're not careful. So as always, thank you for listening. Enjoyed this conversation with CEO Darren Jensen. And afterwards, feel free to join us on our LinkedIn group, the Direct Selling Leadership Forum. We have executives from around the world in direct selling participating in the forum on LinkedIn and sharing their thoughts on various ideas and things that are going on in the industry. Hope you'll join us there. Link should be below. Thanks again. See you soon. We were talking, before we started recording, there's so many things happening so quickly that are forcing direct selling companies to really change their tactics at a very quick speed, way faster than I think anybody would have thought they could, right? I call it necessity is the mother of invention. But nowadays, we are realizing, and you were one of the first, pioneering speakers in the industry to talk about this, that kind of one ring to rule them all, strategy of distributors, or what you would call the bikinis and Lamborghinis approach, right? It just doesn't work anymore. And that there are just such a diversity of people that are getting involved with our brands with such a diverse set of expectations, that trying to drive them all toward one potential outcome really just ends up being highly efficient, brings churn rates way up, and lowers market caps, lowers valuation, creates regulatory problems, leads to lots of complaints, things like that. And you guys have shown over the years that you can get one of the lowest churn rates I've seen in the industry, and I know you've worked really, really hard on that. And part of that is about the way that you think about your distributor journey and your customer journey as well. So can you share a little bit with us about what is the thinking behind the quality of this distributor experience, and where things are going and really need to go to kind of continue to raise the bar for that?
Yeah, I think, as you were posing that question, I was thinking to myself, there's something that I continue to hammer into my executives and throughout the entire organization, because it really comes to tone at the top. And the statement you'll hear me say all the time is that our investment or our decisions cannot precede the data. Right now, most of our industry is flying by the seat of their pants, relying on the past, and not making data-driven decisions. And I think that makes us run blind. And it doesn't make us aware of trends that are out there that we need to be adapting to. It's like driving down the road at 100 miles an hour, but you have to steer while looking through the rearview window. If you don't have real-time data that you're looking at, then you won't notice if the road's beginning to turn because your visibility is only 2 miles behind you. Okay. So you need good data to do it. But as I look at what is affecting the industry today, I think that there are some general trends that as companies, if we can be proactive, meaning not that we're just reacting along with what's occurring, but if we can recognize hard trends that are occurring or will be occurring, and we can position our companies in front of them, that's the true growth engine that we need to be looking at. And unfortunately, as an industry, we've been kind of what you're saying, I'd call it a one-trick pony. That's all that we've been able to do is many companies are telling a very narrow story of bikinis and Lamborghinis to a small amount of people, and you get a bunch of churn and burn. And I think that it's really damaged the industry and continues to damage the industry. So I think that, some of the trends that we're seeing that we're trying to position in front of that affect the distributor journey has been to understand who we are as a company. LifeVantage is a biohacking company. We're here to biohack the aging code. Many don't know this that are not familiar with LifeVantage, but we started out as a retail company. We were originally a research company that moved into retail. So we were selling in GNCs, your vitamin shops, and we had a very powerful story that we're trying to tell. But as people were walking down the aisles, they couldn't grasp the power of the product. And so we would send in secret shoppers and go up to, let's say, the counter at GNC, and they'd hold up our product and say, hey, what does this do? And they would look at it and say, I don't know, maybe it's a sleep aid, when it wasn't a sleep aid. So we stepped back and had to determine what is the best mechanism to tell our story. And we found in 2009 that story was, or the way to tell that story was through direct selling. So this is who we are, and this is our calling, but it gives us the chance to have the experience of other channels that we've dealt with. And so in 2010, there was a shift really in I would say in the mentality, especially here in the United States. There was a shift away from materialism, this focused on outward displays of wealth. And it was a repositioning where people began to look at experientialism. They wanted experience, and that was valued more than let's say a watch or a Lamborghini. And so we've been trying to shift with that and provide more and more experience, opportunities to serve. People want to be part of something bigger than who they are, especially the younger generations. They see challenges happening in the world and they want to go towards that. Other experience,
they want to help. They want to feel like they're contributing to the world.
Yeah, they do. They want to be part of something. I think areas that we've been focusing on definitely has been on our branding, who we are, telling our story, and really making sure that our distributor base is telling a tapestry of stories and making us as appealable to many segments of the population as possible, and not just to that one small segment that is looking for big time money. I mean, that obviously is out there, but most people coming in are looking for maybe a small amount just to supplement their monthly household income. They're looking for purpose. They're looking to be part of a society of people that reflect their values, and they're looking for the ability to give service. It's kind of funny, where I live, a lot of my neighbors are CEOs of very large companies. My next door neighbor is a CEO of a very well-known company that has over 10,000 employees. And every year he's asking me, as well as my other neighbors, hey, we see on your Facebook feed that you're down in Mexico building homes you're building out this community. We want to be part of that. Can we come down with you? Can I bring my kids down? And can we help build? And I think that drawing people together at many levels, both of your distributors and your customers together is part of the future.
Well, isn't that true? Because I wrote an article, I think last year, about how I believe that direct selling is the most socioeconomically empowering way to bring products to market that's really ever existed. And what I'm hearing you is doing is basically describing that truth. There's so many value propositions that bring somebody and keep somebody in a direct selling business. And by focusing exclusively on the money when there's, a pot of gold and silver and platinum and titanium and all different sorts of value propositions there for them, that's not just the cash, is really kind of doing ourselves an injustice. Because we in the numbers that we've looked at, we've now analyzed over 20 million direct selling life cycles, over 1 billion points of data. And what we look at is that the vast majority of people, if you look at the way that they behave and you make the assumption that they're there primarily for the money, they would have been gone a long time ago, because they are nowhere near making as much as they're spending or more, but they still stay around. And so when we ask ourselves the question, why, and you look deeper, like you were saying, into that data, we start to realize, well, maybe the value proposition that we think they need is a little bit different than the one that they're actually getting. And I remember from my time in the field, I didn't make it to become some big field leader. I already owned a business on the side. This was just a kind of a fun thing for me to do during an economic downturn, in the 08, 09 time. And, but the values that I got out of that, I think, still make me who I am today. The personal development, the communication skills, that sense of community of getting together with so many different types of people that are not like me, whether they're not the same color or the same gender or come from the same background or speak the same language. And all of us have to find ways to kind of get together, build teams, and collaborate with each other, and then hang out and have social things with each other. What does that do to people? How does that bring us together in such powerful ways? And it's just been so inspiring to me to see that going on. And the companies that are moving in that direction, I think, are the ones that are doing best these days.
Yeah, I completely agree that direct selling is the great melting pot out there, that we can bring together a wide variety of beliefs, both political, religious, socio-economical, different classes of people, different lifestyles, different everything together, but we network them together in a shared purpose with shared goals that people benefit from shared interaction, and that together can lift us. I was listening to one of my top leaders speak the other day. He made a statement that I thought was pretty applicable, but he was applying it to his business, but I'd apply it to all business. He said that we have to lift where we stand, and meaning that we can only do what we can do, but it's important that we do what we can do. So I think as an industry, if we lift where we stand and we network together over 100 million people around the world into shared purpose, where if they overcome any differences amongst them, that everybody has benefited, I think the overall benefit to the world will be great. It'll have a great effect. But back to, I should say, kind of a specific thing where you were talking about that we shouldn't go after people with just one message. And that we need to understand that there's a wide variety of reasons why people join an organization. I would say that that's one of the first questions that companies need to pose and sort through their data to try to determine what the answer is for their specific organization. We posed that question in a very simple way. We said, is it better to have a distributor or a customer in the business? Okay. And we began analyzing what the lifetime values, the longevity was of various types of customers that we had. And these were segmented down into much smaller groups, but just in very broad terms, if you look at a question of, okay, is it better to have an engaged distributor, or is it better to have a disengaged distributor or a regular customer? That's an interesting question. And so, as we've went through our data, we call it the principle of correct closing, meaning don't try to force a square peg through a round hole, because we found that the lifetime value and the longevity of a distributor who should have really been a customer, okay, but they were positioned as a distributor, is far less than an active customer who loves your products and purchases. I mean, their longevity is nearly twice the amount, and they purchase over their lifetime much more than a disengaged distributor. So I think it's important that our distributor bases are mature enough in the way that they approach to be able to properly close and place people in the buckets that they should be in.
That makes perfect sense. And I think part of the reason why you're able to achieve that customer lifetime value that you're talking about is because you guys have spent a lot of time and energy focusing on the experience of the customer. I think a lot of companies in our industry have gone through the effort to create a preferred customer program, but they haven't really gone the extra step to say, well, what is the experience that we want to give this customer if they're not in our business? And how does that continue to drive value in purchasing from that customer for the long run?
You have to have a broad menu of where people can come in to whatever extent they desire, from simply purchasing products to being the biggest of leaders that you want, and everything in between. And there is no right, there is no wrong. It's trying to properly close and position people and let them determine how they want to progress and what their success journey is, and not only provide one story of success, because it's so limiting. And then it attracts the same people who tell the same story, and then it just keeps being more and more pervasive over time, and we can never do something different. And so I think it starts at the top. It starts at the top with the CEOs, that tone at the top, and drives all the way down through an organization where you also coordinate very closely with your distributor, top distributor leaders, and get them on board with it. And it's not easy. It takes time. It takes years to change these cultures. But, they say the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So if you haven't started, start today.
That's brilliant. I think that's a great place for us to end. Thank you, as usual, for sharing your thoughts. It's always been great to talk to you over the years, and we'll do it again.
It's my pleasure. Thanks, Michel.